Hi, I'm Helen and welcome to my channel. Today's class will be a class to release the lower body. I don't know about you, but I've been suffering from lockdown legs where I've been working from home and I'm constantly in front of the computer. My hip flexors are feeling so tight. I think where I'm not going out to work and walking between my car and the building, going up and down the stairs and just getting up and down in the office in general, I feel like I've really seized up. So today's class will focus on opening the hips, the hip flexors, general opening of the front body, and hopefully at the end you'll feel a lot more released and free. You may need a couple of props for today. A yoga belt. If you don't have a yoga belt, you can use a dog lead, a tie, a normal belt, a towel, a scarf, anything. And also a couple of yoga blocks. If you don't have yoga blocks, then hardback books can be used or tins of food. So if you haven't got those, grab those now. And we're going to start lying on the back in Supta Baddha Konasana. So make your way down onto the floor. This is where your blocks might come in handy. Bring the soles of the feet together and allow the knees to flop open. This can cause quite a bit of strain on the inner thighs, so you may, if it feels better, put your blocks just on the outside of the thighs to give your groin a little bit of support. Snuggle the shoulders under the back and bring the hands down on the floor near the hips with the palms facing upwards. You can use the thumb now to touch the floor, and that just helps you open the chest. Close the windows of the eyes and just start to settle into the breath, noticing your inhale and noticing your exhale. Inhale and exhale. Continue in a pattern that suits you, keeping the breath internal through the nose. And then just do a quick body scan, see how you're feeling. As you lie in this position, bring your awareness to anywhere that you might be feeling tension, tightness. Mentally send the breath there, making a mind-body connection with that part of the body. Just melt into the mat and allow gravity to open the hips gently, relaxing all the muscles around the pelvis. We'll be here for just a few breaths more. This is the time to let go of any thoughts about your day that's ahead of you or that you've just had. And really focus in on the now, on the present, on this time that you've allowed yourself to spend on the mat. If you've got blocks underneath your thighs, just gently move them to the side. And then use the strength of the hands to push the knees together. Keeping the knees together, bring them slowly into the chest. And give yourself a squeeze to try and keep the entire spine on the floor. Pressing down on the shin bones, creating deep flexion in the hip joint here. And then keep the hands around the right shin and release the left leg down to the floor. Bring the knee in towards the chest and then move it slowly out towards the armpit. So you're starting to do a little bit of external rotation in this hip. And then start to explore some movement in this hip joint. So just moving the hip or the knee slowly out in circles, so they're going clockwise. And imagine the movement is coming from the hip, so focus your attention on the hip rather than on the shin or the knee. And then move in the other direction. So the hip joint is a ball and socket joint. It moves 360 degrees. And then release it back to the center. Grab hold of the shin with the left hand. Extend the right arm out to the side, and then just bring the leg over for a supine twist. Try to keep both shoulders on the floor. If it feels good on the neck, you can look towards the right hand. Breathe here, noticing the stretch in the outer hip, in the glute. The knee doesn't have to come to the floor. And then inhale, bring this back to center. Squeeze in one more time into the chest. And we'll move into a hamstring stretch. So you might need your dog lead or your yoga belt here. So extend the right leg up to the sky. Remember, we're just warming up here, so you don't need to go that deep into the pose. And hook the belt around the ball of the foot. Really press the ball of the foot into the belt. Make sure both hips remain parallel. So there is a tendency in this pose for the right hip to hitch up towards the right armpit. Make a conscious effort to keep both hips neutral. Deep breaths here, and maybe start to bring the foot closer towards the head. Just notice where you're feeling any tension or any tightness. And use the breath to send awareness to that area. Being very gentle with yourself. This is a great time to practice ahimsa, which means non-harming, non-violence. It comes under the yamas, which are the first limb of yoga. And then very slowly release the leg down to the floor. So your right leg might feel a bit longer than the left. Mine does. And we'll do that little sequence on the other side. So bring the left knee into the chest, really closing this hip joint, holding around the shin, and then move the knee out towards the armpit. So again, getting a tiny bit of external rotation here. And then bring your awareness to the hip joint as you start to move this leg in little circles. So keeping the knee closed helps protect it. And then do a few more in the other way, just exploring some movement and rotation in this joint. Then come back to neutral. Right hand comes outside the left knee, and as you exhale, twist over to the right. So try and keep both shoulders on the floor. Again, being gentle with yourself. You can extend the left arm out or cactus it. Maybe look at the left hand. Noticing the stretch in the left side body, the left outer hip. Then inhale back to center. Extend this left leg up to the sky. Maybe grab the belt. If it's within your reach, you may be able to grab the big toe with the fingers. Really pressing the foot into this belt. Relaxing the shoulders. Remembering to keep both hips neutral. And then gently pull this foot towards the head. Breathing here. accepting the degree of flexibility that you have. Most people only have about 90 degrees here, so don't beat yourself up if your shin is quite far away from your head. And flexibility changes on a daily basis. I've done so much activity in so many yoga classes over the last couple of days. I'm feeling really stiff in this area. But being content and happy with where you are, not placing any attachment to how deep you can get into the pose. The end posture is not the goal of yoga. The goal is to find out about yourself as you move through the journey in these shapes that we create with our bodies. Just a few more breaths here. And then release the belt if you're using one. Release that leg down to the floor. Full body stretch. And then bring the knees into the chest, cross the ankles, and we'll rock and roll up and come over into tabletop. So tabletop is a fancy name for hands and knees. Hands are directly underneath the shoulders and knees underneath the hips. And we'll move through a few rounds of cat-cow just to articulate the spine. So on an inhale, the chest lifts and the belly dips. As you exhale, round the spine, bringing the head down. Inhale, lift to the sky, dip in the belly. Exhale, round in the spine, really protracting the shoulders. Inhale, lift for cow. Exhale, round for cat. And then return to a neutral spine. Extend the right leg out behind you. Lift the right leg up so you're parallel with the hip. Then just sweep this right leg over onto the outside of the left side of the mat. And then look over your left shoulder towards the right foot for a lateral stretch. So again, just waking up the spine here, making sure we've warmed it up in all of its ranges of motion. Inhale back to center. Exhale, release. Inhale the left leg directly out. Exhale, left toes come down on the outside of the right side of the mat, looking over this right shoulder. Feeling the stretch in the side body, just opening up the little intercostal muscles all inside the ribs. Then inhale back to center. So I said earlier that the hip was a 360-degree joint, so we'll just explore that a little bit more. So on an inhale, the right leg comes out to the side in what is known as fire hydrant. So I think it's because it's like a dog peeing up a fire hydrant. And then slowly move the foot up to face the sky. Bring the knee down and then lift out to the side again. So you're moving the hip in a circle here. Slow, mindful movements. One more in this direction. And then we'll go the other way. So when your knee comes down, this time bring the foot up to the sky. Rotate out to the side and then down. Lift to the sky. Rotate out and down. Lift out. I can hear a few clicks going on. And then down. Keeping still on the right side, we're going to bring the right toes outside the mat, tuck the left toes under. You can come up onto the fingertips and sit the hips back, so keeping the spine straight and getting into this right hip here. Breathe. Then inhale, come back up. Extend this right leg out and we'll do some rainbows. So just go with the range of motion that you have. Lift this leg up to hip height. Then you're going to point to the back corner, the left side of the mat. Then inhale, keeping the legs straight. Bring it to forward. So you might just get it to here. And then inhale back. So we do 5 rainbows. Keeping the core active. Going with your range of motion. Movement is coming from the hip joint. Slow, mindful movements. Observing what you're feeling in the body. Last one. And then back to center. So we'll do that sequence on the other side. I'll turn around this way. So left leg comes out into fire hydrant. Rotate the foot towards the sky. Knee comes down to meet the other. Lift into fire hydrant. Foot to the sky. Down. Inhale, lift. Rotate. Return. Inhale, lift. Rotate. Down. One more in this direction. And then down. And then we'll reverse it. So foot comes up to the ceiling. Rotate out to the side and down. Inhale, lift. Knee to the side and down. Lift. Knee to the side and down. There's a lot of clicking going on in my hip here. Inhale, lift. Knee to the side and down. Left toes come outside the left side of the mat. Come up onto the fingertips, tuck the right toes, and the seat comes back towards the heel. Getting into this outer hip here. Deep breaths. Then inhale, come back up, return the knee, and we'll do those rainbows. So left leg comes out to hip height, touches the outside, the back side, the right of the mat. Inhale, sweep the leg round. Inhale back. Remember, slow and mindful movements. Being sensitive to what you're feeling in the body. And with your range of motion, it might be less than mine, it might be more. Then inhale, back to center. Turn back round this way. And then from here, we'll tuck the toes, move the hands about 1 handprint in front, and the hips come up to downward facing dog. So you can keep the knees bent here, so you've got your sit bones to the sky. Grounding into the base of the knuckles, hands shoulder width apart. Gripping the floor with the fingers, triceps are rotated under. So you're really widening the upper back here. Lengthening the spine. Maybe you can play with walking your dog. Belly is to the spine. And then settle the feet. Heels are descending towards the earth. Doesn't matter if they don't touch. And then look forward, and we'll slowly walk up to the front of the mat and allow the body to drape over. The bend is coming here from the hips. You can keep the knees bent if it's a bit tough on the hamstrings, and just release the body down in this forward fold. Then place the hands on the hips, and as you inhale, we'll come up to standing. So we'll move through a couple of rounds of traditional Surya Namaskar, as this really opens up the front of the hips. So big toes together, heels slightly apart at the front of the mat. As you inhale, the arms come up to the sky, really lifting the rib cage. As you exhale, fold forward from the waist, tucking in the belly. Exhale, hands come to the floor. Inhale, halfway lift out of the waist, really lengthening the spine. Exhale, right foot steps back. Right knee comes to the floor, keeping the toes tucked, grounding into the left foot, knee directly over ankle. Inhale the arms up for a low lunge. Exhale, hands plant either side of the left foot. The back knee lifts. Exhale, step back to plank. Lower knees, chest and chin. Inhale, baby cobra. Exhale, seat to heels, downward facing dog. Inhale, right foot steps up between the hands, low lunge, knee over ankle. Release the back knee. Inhale, arms come up. Exhale, plant the hands. Back knee lifts, step forward, forward fold. Inhale, lift the arms up to the sky. Exhale, palms to chest. Inhale, palms lift. Exhale, fold from the waist, belly to the spine. Forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, left foot steps back, left knee to the floor. Inhale, arms up, low lunge. Exhale, plant the hands. Lift the back knee, step back to plank. Lower knees, chest and chin. Inhale, baby cobra. Exhale, seat to heels, downward facing dog. Inhale, left foot steps up, knee over ankle, right knee descends. Inhale, palms come up. Exhale, palms to the floor, back knee lifts, step forward, forward fold. Inhale, palms up. Exhale, palms to the chest. So that was one round, and we'll do it again a little bit quicker. Now you're familiar with the movements. Inhale, palms to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, right foot steps back, right knee to the floor. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, plant the hands, back knee lifts, step back, plank. Lower knees, chest and chin. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, seat to heels, downward facing dog. Inhale, right foot steps up, left knee descends. Inhale, low lunge. Exhale, hands come down. Left knee lifts, foot to the front, forward fold. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, palms to chest. Inhale, palms lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, left foot steps back, left knee to the floor. Arms come up. Exhale, plant the hands, back knee lifts, plank. Lower knees, chest and chin. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, seat to heels, downward facing dog. Inhale, left foot steps up, right knee descends, low lunge. Exhale, hands come down, back knee lifts, forward fold, front of the mat. Inhale, palms come up. Exhale, palms to chest. One more round. Inhale, palms lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Right foot steps back, knee comes down, low lunge. Exhale, plant the hands, plank. Lower knees, chest and chin. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, seat to heels, downward facing dog. Inhale, right foot steps up, left knee descends, arms come up. Exhale, plant the hands, left foot to the front of the mat, forward fold. Inhale, palms up. Exhale, palms to chest. Last round. Inhale, palms lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, left foot back, left knee down, low lunge. Exhale, plant the hands, back knee lifts, plank. Lower knees, chest and chin. Inhale, cobra. Seat to heels, downward facing dog. Left foot steps up, right knee descends, arms to the sky. Exhale, plant the hands, back knee lifts, step forward, forward fold. Inhale, palms come up, palms to the chest, and close the eyes, palms at the heart. Just observe how you're feeling. You should have quite an elevated heart rate after those sun salutations. You should feel a lot of prana moving around your body. Prana is the Sanskrit word for energy. So in Chinese medicine, they call it qi. And then flutter the eyes open. So inhale the palms to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Halfway lift, and then just step back to downward facing dog. So now we've done a lot of dynamic warm up in the front of the hips. We'll move into some static holds. So inhale, right leg to the sky. Exhale, right foot steps up. Get it any way you can. And bring this back knee down. On an inhale, the body comes up. We'll just descend into this low lunge. So pulling this right hip back and this left hip forward. If this is tough on your knee, you can just fold over your mat like that. So just give it a bit of padding. Descending the hips and actually tipping the pelvis here. So we're really getting into the front of this left hip flexor, the psoas. Breathe here. Keeping the front ribs engaged and pulled in. Just centering on the breath, noticing where the tightness is. And you may need your blocks here again. We'll move into some hamstring slides. So depending on your flexibility, whether it's easy for you to reach the floor, if not, you can place the blocks either side of the sort of mid thigh. Remember, the block has got 3 heights, so pick the height for you. As you exhale, we're going to move the hips back and lengthen the right leg. So keeping the foot flexed, try and keep the hips neutral. Feel this stretch all on the hamstring. And then on an inhale, come forward, descending the hips. Exhale, come back. We'll do 5 of these all together, so 3 more. Practicing ahimsa, kindness, non-harming, non-violence towards your body. Do one more of these. And then just hold here. So keeping the spine lengthened, shoulders are away from the ears, focusing on the breath on the back of the leg. Keeping the foot flexed. Then inhale, come forward. Move the blocks off to one side. I'm going to lift the back knee. Here, really plant the left hand already underneath the shoulder, and you're going to rotate the feet so they both face the right side of the mat. So you're going to be on the knife edge of each foot. So this is really getting into the outer hip here. Maybe release this right arm to the back. It's going to be quite intense. Keeping the shoulder plugged in the socket, keeping the core engaged. Breathe here. You may be able to descend the left hip towards the earth. Obviously, the deeper you go, the deeper the stretch. And then inhale, come back up. And we haven't finished with this leg yet. We'll move into lizard pose. So you can bring the knee down to the floor. And again, you may need your blocks here. Turn this foot out to face sort of half past one. Lengthen out of the waist. So this might be your lizard. This is quite a deep hip stretch. You may wish, if it's available to you, to bring your elbows down to the block. You might not need the block, and you may be able to bring the elbows all the way down to the floor. If you've got both elbows on the floor, try and keep equal weight in both elbows. There's a tendency for this right one to become weightless. Remember, we want to keep the body balanced. Lengthen out of the neck. Breathe here. Deep breaths. So the breath is what helps us open the body. Combined with patience and non-attachment to any outcome. So if you're down on the elbows, come back up to the hands, tuck the back toes, and then very gently step back to downward facing dog and just pedal out the feet here. So it was a lot of work all on one hip. We'll have to do the second side to balance out the body, otherwise it'll be wonky. So from downward facing dog, inhale the left leg to the sky. Exhale, left foot steps up. Descend this back knee, planting the, keeping the left knee directly above this left ankle, descending into the hips. Remember, you can always fold this mat if it's a bit too tough on the knees. Inhale, bring the body up. And just start to descend the hips. So pulling this left hip back and this right hip forward, really getting into this psoas. Try and keep the pelvis neutral. This will give you a better stretch here rather than sort of doing this kind of thing. You can notice the difference immediately if you move from that and keeping the pelvis in a more neutral position. Just breathe here. So this is a little bit of a balance, and it helps to sort of imagine that you're scissoring the thighs. When you sit at a computer all day or drive all day, these hip flexors get so compressed and it feels so good to just stretch them out. Now from here we'll move into those hamstring slides. So if you need them, you can grab your blocks, and as you exhale, bring the hips back, lengthen in this left leg. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, back. Again, mindful, slow movements in time with the breath. Not rushing the body. Exhale, back. Being an observer about the sensations that you're feeling and what they bring up for you. Maybe this is a pose that you really don't like doing if you've got quite tight hamstrings. And this time we'll come back and we'll stay here. So those poses that trigger feelings of discontentment, they're the ones that we should be doing the most. You know, I've got poses that I try to avoid because they just do not feel good to me. And they're the ones I really need to do the most. Because when we do these difficult poses and we move through them and we observe how we feel in the mind and in the body, we can take the lessons we learn on the mat out into the everyday world. So when you're dealing with a difficult situation, something that you dislike, the lessons that you learn on the mat and the tools that you use to deal with these challenging poses, you can apply them to those situations in your everyday life. And then inhale, we come forward. So we'll move into the twisting hip stretch. I don't actually know what it's called. Lift this back knee. Hand plants underneath the right shoulder, and then you're going to rotate both feet to face the left side of the mat. And then maybe lift this left arm behind. Remember, the deeper you sink this hip, the more intense the stretch. Lengthen in the spine, keeping this right shoulder plugged in so you have stability in the shoulder joint to support you. Always remembering to breathe. And then inhale, we'll come forward again. Move into lizard pose on this side. So release the back knee down. Bring this foot to about 10:30. Descending the hips. Maybe this is, you grab your block here. Maybe you stay up here because that's what your body's telling you to do. If you'd like to go deeper and it's available to you, the elbows may come down to the block or the floor. If they're on the floor, remember to make sure this left elbow isn't weightless. And surrender here. So this is a very intense pose, and it can bring up a lot of feelings and emotions when we hold it. As the tissues start to release and we get deep into this really complex area of the hip. There's such a lot of, so many muscles and tendons and ligaments all supporting that joint. That's why we can build up a lot of tightness there, especially if you lead an active lifestyle, you do a lot of running or cycling. This can be a really, really tight area. And then if you're down on the elbows, slowly come up to the hands. Tuck the back toes under, lift the knee, and then step back, downward facing dog. Just just pedal out the feet here. And then start to settle them down. We'll do a last hip opener, pigeon pose. So inhale the right leg to the sky. Exhale, right knee comes behind right wrist. Walk these back toes back. Keeping both hips facing forward. So if this cheek is quite far off the ground, you can put a block or a cushion underneath it. Start to melt the hips down towards the earth. So if you've got very open hips, good external rotation, your shin will be more parallel to the front of the mat. If you haven't got that much mobility externally, it'll be closer to the groin. Really click the toes into the mat to help protect the knee, lengthen out the waist, and then maybe surrender down to the elbows or bring the forehead to the floor. Keeping both hips neutral, making sure this back foot is going back straight and it's not sickling to one side. Most of the weight you should be trying to get actually into the left hip, because that will help open this right one more. If you just experiment by sort of moving your body weight to the left hip, you can notice immediately a bigger stretch in this right area. Again, using the breath, allowing yourself to just melt into the earth, letting gravity take you there. Not worried about whether your shin is parallel to the front of the mat or not. Just observing the sensations. If you feel any pain in the knee, you could always do thread the needle on the back instead. Making sure the jaw is relaxed as well. Sometimes we really grip when we're in a challenging position. We also have a tendency to hold the breath sometimes. So just checking in with yourself to make sure you are breathing. Remember, the breath is internal through the nose. And then inhale, slowly come up. Really ground the hands underneath the shoulders. Tuck these back toes and then see if you can use the strength of the core to lift this leg up. Step back, downward facing dog. Do a little pedal. Then we'll come into side B. So inhale, left leg to the sky. Exhale. Knee comes behind the left wrist. Walk this right foot back. Descending the hips, clicking these toes into the mat, lengthen out the waist, loosen this back foot, and then coming down. So again, try and bring the weight into the right side of the body, and immediately you notice this extra stretch, deeper sensation. Surrender in here. As you breathe and let go, you may find you get a little bit deeper. Is there anything that's coming up for you? Any uncomfortable thoughts. Remember, we hold a lot of emotions in this hip area, and sometimes when you're in these hip openers, you can have a release, an emotional release. Just whatever comes up for you, just acknowledge it and then let it go. You don't have to do anything with it. Just a few more breaths here. And then if you are in sleeping pigeon, come back up to the hands, grounding down into the palms, into the earth. Tuck these back toes, lift the right knee, use that core to bring this leg up, and step back, downward facing dog. And then from here, we'll make our way onto the back, so you can get there any way you want. As we start to close the practice, roll down slowly to the floor. Bring the soles of the feet to the earth. Just reach down and touch the backs of the heels. And on an inhale, lift the hips up for bridge pose. Setu Bandhasana. Keeping the feet parallel, engage in the hamstrings, lifting the pelvis towards the sky. Maybe you'd like to interlace the fingers behind the back, keeping the backs of the arms on the floor and the collarbones wide. Feeling the openness in the front body, stretching the hip flexors. And then if you've got the interlace, release, bring the hips to the floor. Bring the knees into the chest, one at a time. Give yourself a squeeze. We'll finish with a spinal twist like we did at the start of class. So bring the hands out to cactus. Just allow the knees to drop over to the right. Both shoulders are on the floor. Look over to the left. And inhale, center. Descend over to the left with the legs. Head goes towards the right. Both shoulders are on the floor. Deep inhales, deep exhales. And then return to center. Give your legs one last little squeeze. And then release out one by one to the bottom of the mat. Allow the feet to flop open towards the sky. Palms face upward, shoulders are under the back of the neck is long. Close the windows of the eyes, turn the arrows of attention inwards. Deep, easy breathing. Releasing every part of the body, every muscle, every fibre, just let it go. Melt into your mat. And enjoy Shavasana, corpse pose. Slowly start to bring your awareness back into the room. Maybe wiggle the fingers and toes. And then interlace the fingers and stretch the arms overhead, the feet in the opposite direction, full body stretch. And bring one knee at a time into the chest. Give yourself a little squeeze. And then just allow the knees to fall over to your favorite side. Come into a little ball, into the fetal position. Allow the cheek to rest on the hands. Give yourself a moment, allowing the body to settle here. And then keeping the eyes closed, slowly push the body up into a comfortable seated position. Allow the hands to rest on the knees, face down, spine is straight, chin is parallel to the floor, shoulders are released. Just take delight in these last few moments of your yoga practice. Hopefully your body is feeling nice and open, particularly your legs and your hips, the hip flexors. Then bring the palms to the chest in prayer mudra, pressing the thumbs into the heart. On an inhale, lift your prayer overhead. And then slowly as you exhale, bring the prayer through the center line, briefly touching the thumbs on the third eye, on the forehead, your intuition. Allowing the fingertips to touch the lips, for your communication. And then bring the hands back to the heart. And then slowly flutter the eyes open. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed that class. Really getting into the lower body, into the hamstrings, into the hips, the hip flexors. Feel so much tightness in this area and we hold so much here. So it's really good to get the prana moving around these areas and give ourselves a little bit of release. So I hope to see you again soon. If you like my classes, please subscribe to my channel. Let me know in the comments below if you have any requests. And enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Thank you.